Okay, everyone, you ready for the last session? Yes. It's going to be full of excitement and the best part of the day. To raise expectations, but it's very seldom that I have three men sitting on the couch, so we'll make it a good talk. And since we already talked about why we need another corporate incubator and accelerator in the lunch session, and you already answered that, Peter, I will ask the two other participants on the couch. Mike comes from, well, I have to read that, Amazon Web Services, and is the business development head, manager, however you want to call that, for Venture Capital EMEA region. And on the other side, so to your left, we have Professor Dr. Sven Ripshas, I have to say it correctly. So we have a bit of a different perspectives on the whole subject on the couch now, and we want to go a little bit the controversial direction. Let's see. Let's kick it off. We already discussed that, but in the last 2 years there was about 7 or 8 corporate accelerators founded within Germany, and you already answered yes, we need more. I think, is that the right yes? And so my question is to the other two of you: do you agree? Do we need more corporate incubation and acceleration in Germany?
Well, obviously, as a university, we don't have to take the decision whether Bosch or someone else is opening another incubator. If they feel the necessity for that, they should do so. And I really invite them, because the Berlin startup ecosystem is big enough, I think. We need the exchange between the innovation strategy of the big companies, the smaller companies like startups, and the SMEs we have here, and between the universities. So we invite everybody who is thinking of adding another incubator to use this triangle of SMEs, startups, big companies, and the academic scene with all the universities, because together I think we will really build a startup ecosystem that hopefully puts Berlin on top of the world for a long time.
Great. What's your take, Mike?
So you said controversial. So I would say no, but I will explain it a bit. I think it starts with the question why you want a corporate accelerator, or even broader, why you would want an accelerator. So before this, I founded an accelerator 3 years ago, and back then there weren't that many in Europe, so it was 4 years ago actually. And now there's, I think, around 150 or plus accelerators in Europe. I don't know the exact count for corporate accelerators, but there's quite a lot of them as well. So I think the main question is, why do you want another accelerator? What's the benefit? On a generic note, so for accelerators in general, I would say for education perspective, it's great. You know, there should be more. There will be good quality and bad quality, but overall, more entrepreneurs get access to education, which is great. From an investment point of view, I certainly think we don't need more, right? There's actually very, very few, I think, that can make it worthwhile. A corporate accelerator has other incentives. And then there's a question, again, why do you want it from a corporate point of view, right? And my opinion there is, why does it have to be an accelerator? And why can't we do something different? I mean, there has been innovation programs for a very long time, right? In the recent 5 years, this is hype around accelerators. I think now is the time to focus much, much more on specific areas that are core to the business. You know, if you want to do something innovation in startups, then rather focus on specific growth startups that are in an area that is interesting to you, and build a program specifically around this, because there's a massive potential there. Or take much earlier stage and do something there. But I wouldn't just do another accelerator, especially if there's no focus, because I think also in general, this is not only for accelerators but also for investors. Everybody's very afraid to be very clear about their focus, you know. And then they say, yeah, we kind of do this, this, and this, and this, and then the list is this long. So basically almost everything except hardware and a few things. And I think it's very, very important to focus on what you're good at, because it's very, very tough to add value. And the broader you get, the harder it is to add value.
Thank you. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, maybe just to add one more point. I'm personally not a big fan of corporate accelerators, actually. This is also why Hubraum isn't not only not called Hubraum Accelerator but Incubator, but also why we do a program that is much closer to basically seed stage VCing than the typical 2 or 3 month accelerator program, because in fact, as you just said, adding value during a 2 or 3 month period, and especially connecting those two very different roles, startups on the one hand side and corporates on the other hand side, within the short time frame of 2 or 3 months is incredibly hard. And I would say it's close to impossible in that very short time frame. That's why I'm not a big fan of the typical corporate acceleration program, but of various means of connecting those two worlds in a pragmatic way.
And would that be your answer also if I ask you, if you were a founder, whether an incubator or accelerator would be interesting for you, or if we even need more of that in Germany, in Berlin, in Europe?
Yeah, of course. I mean, what I truly believe is that when a corporate, whatever program, call it incubator, accelerator, lab, whatever, when it is done in a way that really adds value to both sides, and that really is set up professionally and set up to perform, then it's a great value add that any corporate can put into any startup. Additionally to potentially money, because a corporate can be a very valuable partner for scaling up, for example. So therefore, I would definitely go to the right corporate as a startup.
From the perspective of the founders, I like the idea that you work with convertible loans in those programs, because you have to keep a certain independency, and if it works out for all parties, then the loan could be turned into equity. But on the other hand, from an entrepreneurial point of view, I think you have become an entrepreneur because you didn't want to participate in the corporate game. So you should be very much aware of how close you want to get to the corporates. And if you deliberately choose to do so, that's fine. But you really have to make your mind clear in advance.
But I mean, for example, as being a Hubraum startup, you're not. I mean, we only have a minority stake in the company, so there's no means to control the startup, and it's the same from most other programs. So therefore, I would say to keep out of the corporate world that potentially slows you down. I think this is not the problem of the typical corporate accelerator or incubator program.
Well, I didn't say that that's the problem, but we were asked from the point of view of the entrepreneur, and I've seen entrepreneurs that weren't really clear at the beginning how close they will be in a corporate entrepreneurship or corporate accelerator program, and they have talked to me and they said, okay, we felt as another employee of that program, not of Hubraum, of course. But if you engage in such a program, you have to make your choice. It has a lot of advantages, and some programs, like the Microsoft program, they don't take any equity at all. They just give you some support, mentoring, and that's, of course, very, very good. Yes.
So then, from a founder's perspective, what would be the problem of the typical programs that we have these days? I just talked to some of the startups. They said, okay, maybe it's not actually becoming part of an incubator or accelerator, but rather than having the right people to open the right doors, and that actually is a process that still takes time. So would that be something that you see as, yes, some next steps to look into how to improve that?
So, I think as a founder, again, depends on what you need and what you're looking for. But for corporate accelerators, one thing that I find very important as a founder, you can test this, is how high is the management buy-in of the corporate actually. So if on a C-level basis, there's no clear buy-in with the accelerator, that already says something. And there's quite some corporates that do it for marketing purposes, and there's corporates that do it because they really believe in it. They have a long-term strategic view, and their CEO and higher management, clearly stands behind it. And I think that's very important, because if you want those connections within the corporate, you need to make sure that they're willing to actually dedicate their time, make the connections, and help you. And another thing is just to test the quality of the program, right? If you go through a program, I think a problem with a low quality program is that it's kind of wasting time as well, you know, because it's very busy, there's a lot of stuff, but if the quality is low, then the founders are sitting there for months and have they really, you know, gotten the value out of it at the end. So I think that's why I believe in the focus parts, where you have a clear goal, there's a focus that aligns with your interest, and you have validated this with alumni companies by just asking, hey, how was it? What are the good things and bad things? And finally, the most important thing is with, I think, any program, you also get as much out of it as you put into it, right? So it's also very important as a founder to, at the beginning, also be very, very clear about what you need with the program management of the accelerator.
Yeah, very right. So then if we will be having more of working together between startups and corporates, what's your take on the increase of competition to actually get the right people to work with you and not work with any other corporate potentially?
I actually don't see that much of competition between the various programs, because most are really focused on their respective industry topic. So it's I don't see, say, Axel Springer Plug and Play as competition to Hubraum, because we just invest in different startups on one hand side, and potentially if there's a startup which is like in the like in between our both business models, then it would be potentially a very viable case to invest in this startup together. So therefore, it's I don't see, at least as of now, competition as a big topic here in the corporate accelerator or incubator scene.
Maybe not competition, but I do see an issue with deal flow, right? So in general, there's more and more programs, and the reality is there's a limited set of great startups, right? It's at the end of the day, it's diluting the, let's say, not top quality accelerators that just don't get that good of a deal flow. That's the reality, I think.
So from a university perspective, maybe how can we fuel more talent into that space if we all see the need for it?
I think there has a lot been done in the last decade. So we have the EXIST program from the German government, so there's a lot of funding. What I think we are still lacking a little bit is this triangle, as I said at the beginning. So to connect all the research institutes and the universities that come up with some kind of technology, and the business model thinking should be much earlier on the project. So that's why we are really promoting this triangle. So bring together the researchers, the startup community, and the big corporates in order to develop a innovative ecosystem that is really supporting each other on all levels.
And since we learned about the collaboration between you and your competitors earlier on today, I think it was Telefonica and Orange and Telecom, is that something that we will see more in the future when it comes to innovation in that space?
Yeah, I believe so, because it's so powerful for a startup to get access to a global market. When adding all the customers of the four partners, Singtel, Telefonica, Telecom and Orange together, it's more than 1 billion people worldwide that potentially, I mean not really, but potentially a startup that is in that alliance or is being supported by that alliance, that they can potentially access. So that's a strong, very strong value proposition for a startup. On one hand side. On the other hand side, I don't believe that every corporate, every big established company needs essentially their own incubator. It can be a very worthwhile model to collaborate, to cooperate with an existing player, especially a player which is maybe not purely focused on a very specific and very narrow niche. And we've seen that by Telefonica already. They are collaborating with other industries. We're doing that. So this is, I think, another model that we'll see more and more in the future, that like large established incubation acceleration players will be very good partners to other less developed corporate players that maybe don't also see the need to run a completely own program.
Do you agree, since you were talking about more focus?
I mean, yes, I guess. I mean, I guess I agree, but maybe it's a bit unrelated, but like one thing that I maybe want to add about the trend in general, I think there's a huge hype also around terminology, right? Everybody keeps talking about startups and about accelerators and incubators, and I think the problem with this is it's been great to promote the whole entrepreneurship and to get a lot of people to actually take risk, and so it's been amazing for the ecosystem, and that's great, but I think now we need to kind of level it a little bit. And I think the best founders I meet, they don't call their company a startup, you know? The best founders I meet, they work on something really interesting, they believe in something and just do it. They don't think about calling themselves a startup, they're actually not on many events. And it's the same for probably great programs, like now, I mean, Peter, you just said, yeah, Hubram, we don't really call ourselves an accelerator. Losing the terminology maybe a bit more and focusing more on what matters, you know?
So focusing more on the content than on the wordings and okay. Do you guys have any questions to come to an end? You have 3 experienced
Let me maybe add one thing to those that are from the Berlin community here. We have this new network, we call it Ben-Hu. It's not Ben-Hur, but Ben-Hu, just without the R. And this is a network where we bring together, for example, German Telecom is Microsoft, and some SMEs from the industry sector, and we are running corporate entrepreneurship workshops. We are doing workshops with those that teach at all kind of universities, so not only our university, but all different universities here from Berlin. I spoke to Andy Goldstein. They have a similar network like this in Munich. So I think these are the networks that have 2 purposes actually: bring up new ideas and connect people, and also for the big companies, a kind of recruiting platform to find those entrepreneurial thinking students. So if you want to just look it up, it's benhu.de.
Thank you. So anyone have any questions as a last resort, kind of? No, you're all ready to take home the input and then do something rather than talk about it tomorrow.
You could just randomly choose people and force them to ask questions.
Do you want to do that?
Well, he's the host.
You're the host, you can do that. You have the beer, so you're ready to...
Unfortunately, it's already empty.
Oh, I'm sorry. So no more questions. Did you guys have a good day? Yes? You're going home and start something great tomorrow, since we learned that this is more important than actually starting up is more important than being a startup, right? All right. Then thank you very much for being here today. It's been a great pleasure. And at the end of the day, you always give the word to the organizer, right? So please welcome with me Lukas Steniste on the stage. Yes, come on, Lukas. Thank you for organizing this great day.
Thank you, Katrin, very much.